three options here. We can go in the fast lane, we can go in the mid lane, we can go in the slow lane. Which lane do you want to be in?
How do you raise their unconscious standards without pointing out issue and potentially knocking their confidence?
The only way to get people to do what you want them to do is to align with your desire, with their interest. If you want to be in the fast lane, give me the ultimate permission to pull you up on your wrong behaviors. Welcome once again to the Ask the CEO podcast series. And again, this is the second episode of season 2, 2026, which is very, very exciting. And we're going to do more and more and more. And every episode is so entertaining and so educational as well. We're receiving great feedback, not just from the internal people that we have a community collective, but also from the public. So the goal is to keep providing value as much as we possibly can. But well, before we start the podcast, we always like to update the public and also the internal workforce about what it is that is happening right now in the community collective world. And right now, we got a few exciting things, if you ask me. Okay, the first one, well, next week we're going to Hamilton Island. Okay, so we're going to Hamilton Island for 3 days, and we're inviting 50 people to Hamilton Island. If you ask me, it's not a bad gig. But essentially in Hamilton Island. Well, on day one, we're going to have a conference for all the owners and all the partners at Community Collective, and it's going to be extremely exciting. We're going to update everybody about the future goals and the vision for this year because, as you guys may be aware already, in June, we're expanding to Sydney, so we're going to be talking about expansion a lot. On day 2, we're going to have a seminar for all the team leaders and the executive managers, and we're going to teach them how to take their game to the next level. And then lastly, on day 3, we're going to be on a yacht. Why not? Okay, so you got to play, you work hard, but you also got to play hard sometimes. And yeah, we're going to spend, if I'm not mistaken, 6 hours on a yacht. We're going to go around the ocean, and it's going to be a lot of fun. What else? Well, lately, we have done 2 Rising Star seminars as well. One in Queensland and one in Melbourne, okay? We also had the team from New Zealand coming over here to Melbourne. And that was for selected people only. So we provided a lot of value to all the up-and-coming players within Community Collective. So that's been happening as well. What else? In July, we're going to have our mid-year conference, okay? So we're going to host a conference in Queensland and one in Melbourne, and that's going to be fantastic. We're going to give away the awards for the first 6 months of the year. And lastly, the end of year conference this year is in Melbourne. Finally, after 2 years, Melbourne is coming back. We're going to be going to the Crown Casino, and again, it's going to be the usual 3-day event, okay? So that's as far as the updates are concerned. But without further ado, I want to say a couple of things about this podcast. For the first time ever, we're also going to have Emilia speaking on the podcast. She's going to ask a few questions, okay? And, well, Emilia is our marketing manager, right? She's the producer for all these podcasts. And today she's gonna step in, okay? So we're going to change it up. We're changing the format a little bit. And second of all, the guest that we have here today, his name is Mr. Jude Wright, okay? Jude recently got promoted to executive manager, which is one of our most prestigious positions, right, Jude?
Finally,
exactly. The position where you start, handling a team of 10 people plus and doing 100 sales a week consistently with the team. So welcome, Jude. If you want to say a couple of things about yourself, where you're from, your background, go for it, please.
Yeah, thanks, man. So yeah, I've been at the company now for 3 years. I come from the UK. I've been in Australia for like pretty much the exact same amount of time. And it's been a pretty much straight journey since I've been with this company. Finally achieved an executive manager position, and I'm not looking to stop anytime soon.
Awesome, Jude. And how do you like Australia? Right now, you've been here for 3 years. What's your plan? Do you want to stay around for a while?
Yeah, I'm hoping to get the dual citizenship going eventually.
Yes. That would be amazing.
Following in your footsteps, mate. Following in your footsteps.
That's right. Yeah, I recently became an Australian citizen. For those of you that don't know, it only took a decade, but we got it done. Jude, you said that you've been how long in the company now?
3 years. Let me just say 3 years, yeah.
Okay. Is it 3 years already or on the way to be?
It's on the way.
On the way to be 3 years, right? And it's been a fun journey. I remember, I don't do a lot of first round interviews anymore, but I did yours.
Yeah,
right?
we could definitely talk about that. That was an interesting one. I remember doing the interview. I was in a staircase, like a fire escape fire escape.
I do remember
staircase.
thinking, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah. Well, I was in like a Nike, like zip up, like gym gear, basically. And then I answered the phone, and then you were there, 3-piece suit, Rolex, exotic accent. And I thought,
exotic. I like that.
Yeah, I think so, mate.
Exotic. Yeah.
So yeah, instantly I was like, okay, all right, I maybe need to sharpen up here. But then we got talking. I felt a little bit out of place, and then we got talking, and I was like, oh no, okay, I think we've got some common ground here.
Yeah.
This is good. And then came in, did the interview, and it was great.
Yeah, amazing. And I also did your induction training day, if I'm not mistaken, right?
You did, yeah. We went for a steak on that day. I was very impressed.
We did,
yeah.
We went to South Yara, did we not? I remember now.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
yes,
I can't remember what the place was called, but yeah, we did.
That's right. Yeah, I took you out for a steak.
It paid off. I'd say it was a good investment.
Yeah, it was a good investment. Good steak. Good steak.
Yeah, it was.
Looking back, it was a good steak.
That's an unusual thing, Patrick. Do you usually do
Don't think that's
No,
ever
I
happened
don't
other than
usually
that.
do that. So
It was a good round of recruitment, to be honest. I think everyone in that round of recruitment at least hit leadership.
Yes.
And then you had obviously myself, and then you had Austin was there as well.
Yes, which is still working with us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, a strong round. It was
a strong round of
So I think you must have
recruitment. I agree. And then obviously when you started working with us, well, right now I'm coaching you directly. But before you used to be coached by another person that I previously coached. There was a manager here. And we can say his name. His name was and is William. And then obviously William provided you a lot of value, right? That's where you learn the ropes on how to do what it is that you do, right?
Yeah.
So how was your relationship with William?
Yeah, look, fantastic relationship. If I could, I'd say Will was just like very, very rational, straight to the point guy, which happened to suit me perfectly.
Yes.
So he just, I think we realized very early on that we were both kind of the same in that regard. So he just like straight down the pipe, taught me everything he could very, very quickly. I tried my best to pick it up as quick as possible. And then we went from there. We did, I think it was a year together.
Yeah.
And, we built some very strong teams in that time. And then it kind of ran its course. But I think we both got the best outcome for both out of it. So.
Well, William was a phenomenal trainer, right?
Yeah.
In the space of just a few days, he was able to get people up to speed very quickly. I remember I did that with you as well, right?
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously, around, when was it? December or November 2024, William actually wanted to move down to Mornington. By the way, William is still working with Community Collective, but he's running a team down in the southeast, so he didn't want to be in the office anymore. And that's when I stepped in and I started working with you. How was that? How was working with me directly?
It was very good. Yeah. At that time, I was just really just looking to put in as much as I could. So we just had myself and Will just had slightly different goals at that stage. Luckily, I was like lucky enough that I then got to work with you directly for a couple of weeks. In that time, I was trying my best to sort of show you, this is what I'm capable of doing. I think I got that across well, and luckily enough, you decided to invest the time. So
that's right.
It was good.
I remember I had this memory. I remember you and I being at the end of year conference 2024, and again, for those of you that don't know, day 3 of the end of year conference is the gala night, right, where we give away the major awards for the year, and then we have a few drinks and we dance and whatever.
Yeah.
You're an amazing dancer. I saw you dancing on tables.
I definitely wasn't dancing.
Joking,
that night,
he wasn't dancing. But I remember we had like 2 or 3 beers, and you looked at me and you asked, do you think that I can do this? Do you think that I can get promoted? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember it well.
And I said 100%, man, let's go and get it done. So how do you feel now that you actually got it done?
Yeah, look, I feel great now that I've got it done. Look, I always believed that I could, but I suppose when you haven't achieved anything, that prestigious or whatever, you're not 100% sure, and someone who's like obviously, I didn't work with you directly, but I still considered you like a mentor, and someone who's obviously sort of walked the path already. You just want that, what's the word?
Reassurance.
Reassurance, yeah.
Yes.
And it was good to hear that you believed that I could get it done.
Yes.
I spoke with Jeremy as well that night. He sort of said a similar thing. He said that you had spoken about me and said, yeah, I think this guy can get it done. So from that night, I made the decision, I'm going to give it 100%, and obviously it's paid off. So it was good.
It was intense, right? Because I remember, obviously I'm quite busy, and I remember when I started working with you, I told you, I'm going to give you 4 to 4.5 months where I was running like pretty much the team full time. And I said in these 4 months, we're going to have a lot of phone calls. We're going to catch up on weekends. I need to condense a lot of the things that I know within a 4 months time frame, and it was quite intense, right? I remember being on the phone with you pretty much every night.
Yeah.
We broke down the morning every single night. I explained to you why we did what it is that we did every day, every night. We were on the phone a lot. We caught up on weekends a lot. And are you happy that you made that investment? Because a lot of people, again, they want to establish the perfect work-life balance early on, but then they have the expectation of achieving amazing things anyway, whereas sometimes you got to sacrifice it. Would you agree with that?
100%, yeah. Work-life balance was not really in the equation for myself. When I initially came to Australia, the plan was to work like in the mines.
Yeah.
So that's like 2 weeks. It's like 12 hours a day. You don't see anyone. You're in the desert. You know what I mean? You're like mining. So that's like that was my intention, to come here and just get away from any sort of the life part of the work-life balance and just work as hard as I possibly could.
Yes.
And I was doing that already, but that just allowed me to just go one step further. That was what I wanted the whole time, that intensity. You brought that to the table, and it was perfect for me.
Yeah, great. And then, fair on you, you have been quite independent, right? Because,
I tried my best.
traditionally, when somebody gets promoted to executive manager, they would have an owner or a manager that is there every single day running the team. But with you, that wasn't the case. I was there for 4 months, and then I was coming and going, etc., etc.
Well, it was that first month, right after the conference, you weren't there because you had to go.
December.
Yeah,
yes.
I think you had to go back home. So I think that was good as well, that I got that first month immediately.
Yeah.
It was like a bit of a baptism of fire. I just had to run everything straight away. At that point, had not really any training at all in doing that. And then, it wasn't perfect by any means. And we still had some people on the team who didn't align and didn't want to, sort of follow along with the mission that we were taking on.
And that's when we found all the best people that we have right now.
We did, yeah, we did. And I think it was also a good time for myself, Oscar, Lockie, who was with us at that time, to take a lot of responsibility on ourselves and go from there.
Amazing. Well, that's great. I think that gives everybody a little bit of your background story, right? What we went through, etc., etc. So let's get started, man. So I know that you brought some questions for me. So whenever you're ready, please go for it.
Yeah. So the theme of the episode was kind of what we've just been speaking about just then. It was like taking accountability, people becoming independent, that kind of thing. So my first question I've got along that line is, obviously, if we sort of assume that most people, when they come to us, they are not independent, they're not taking accountability for the majority of things that happen to them, because that is how most people sort of are in the world, certainly in this day and age. How can you train people to start taking accountability of their own volition, as opposed to just they come in the door and we tell them you have to take everything on as your fault? Because obviously you can tell people things, but it's not the same as building it in.
Well, that's a great question. I think first you need to have clear company values, okay? And you need to be the personification yourself of these company values, because I will start from there. You can't expect people to do something that you're not willing to do or to show yourself. Yeah. So initially, my expectation when I hire people, I don't expect much. I don't have the belief that great people are found. I believe that great people are made. And to make somebody great, I better be great myself, right? And if I want them to uphold certain values, the first step is to look into the mirror and ask yourself, am I upholding every single day the company values that I want people to uphold? That's step one. Assuming that, the answer to that question is yes, and you are playing at your best capacity to be somebody that takes accountability under any sort of situation, okay? And also not just somebody that takes accountability, but somebody that does something about it. Because, accountability is sometimes done in the wrong way. Somebody can say, oh yeah, today I didn't do my best, but I take accountability. Then tomorrow, also today I didn't do my best, but I take... Well, that accountability is cheap. Accountability is only good if there is a reaction after and you do something about it. Otherwise, it's pointless. Yeah, for sure. So assuming that as a leader, you are that type of person, you can tick the first box. Once that box has been ticked, usually what I do, I wait around 10 days, pretty much 2 weeks of somebody working here, all right? Because in the first couple of weeks, I just want to teach them the foundations of sales. And I don't really want to talk about anything else. I'm just focusing on getting the basics down pat. And when somebody has been here for 2 weeks, that's when I have what I call the expectation conversation, okay? And I say people very clearly, I ask them pretty much, how do you want to be coached? Because there are 3 ways to be coached. There is the fast lane, okay? Imagine the highway, okay? When you are on the fast lane, you're going faster than everybody else. That's pretty clear. There is the mid lane, okay? Where you're like, you're not going fast, you're not going slow, you're taking your time. And then there is the slow lane, okay? And the slow lane is where people are going extremely slow. And I say this to people, and I say, listen, Jude, to tackle this business, we have 3 options here. We can go in the fast lane, we can go in the mid lane, we can go in the slow lane. Which lane do you want to be in? And usually people, what do they say?
Fast lane.
Fast lane. But when you are in the highway, when you are in the highway and you go in the fast lane, especially, I don't know, if you drive in Germany or Europe where people go a little bit faster than Australia, if you are in the fast lane and you don't drive fast, what happens?
You block up other people.
You panic a bit because there are people coming behind you and wanting to overtake you, and they put pressure on you. So if you want to be in the fast lane, you better be ready for it.
Yeah.
Okay, you better be ready for it. And what I say to people is this: if you want to be in the fast lane, you need to give me the ultimate permission to pull you up on your wrong behaviors. One of which is accountability. Like, do you give me permission to call you out? Not publicly, I'm not going to embarrass you, just between you and I. To call you out every single time that you're blaming or deflecting responsibilities instead of taking your own accountability. Yes, I give you responsibility. Amazing. If then after this conversation, there is a situation for which you're not taking accountability for, I just refer back to this conversation that we had, and I say, Jude, maybe we need to realign the priorities here. Because you told me, that was you telling me, not the other way around. You told me that you want to be on the fast lane. You told me that you want to go with speed, and we agreed that to go fast, you give me permission to give you feedback, and you are going to agree when the feedback are fair. You're going to agree on those feedback. But right now, you don't want to take responsibility for your own actions. So we have a couple of options here, Jude. Either we transition to the mid lane, and we take a little bit more time, and if we transition on the mid lane, Jude, I'm not going to call you out every time, okay? I'm not going to be that black and white. I'm going to be more on the gray. Because sometimes I'm going to take into consideration that I don't want to hurt you, I don't want to affect your emotional state, and I'm not going to tell you the truth 100% of the times. But if you want to continue to be on the fast lane, brother, we can't act like this. Like, okay, it's happened, but we need to reflect on it, and we got to ask ourselves, what can we do better next time? And these are the sort of conversations that I have with people, because, if they tell you that they want to go fast and they don't accept to take responsibility for their actions, I always point back at that conversation, and by doing that, you tend to realign people to behave correctly.
Yeah.
Like, essentially, it's like, tell me what you want to do, and based on your goals, I treat you accordingly. If you want to achieve something fast, we got to approach things in a certain way. If instead you want to take 10 years to achieve it, we can go at a different level of speed.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best ways. That conversation is probably one of the main things that I've learned for you in terms of getting the most out of people. When they give you that permission, it's like so much better than you just telling someone, this is what I want from you, this is what I want from you.
Absolutely.
Because the response to that is generally not too good. But when you can get people to tell you what they need to be doing, and tell you why that they want to actually be pushed in that regard, then yeah, it's perfect. I've definitely used that like in relationships in life outside of work also. Those conversations.
And sorry if I can add, and then I say to people, but if you want to switch lane, you need to indicate. Because if you are in the mid lane and you transition to the fast lane without indicating, what's going to happen?
You're going to cause a crash.
You're going to crash. Same thing here. Like, if you're telling me that you want to transition from one lane to the other, right? Let's just say you want to go from the fast lane to the mid lane, but you don't tell me. I'm going to keep treating you according to the fact that you wanted to be on the fast lane. But in your mind, you're like, I don't want to be in the fast lane anymore. I'm in the mid lane. And then you might get upset with me because I'm pushing you too hard.
Yeah.
So if at any point you decide to switch lane, indicate, AKA, let me know. And then I can adjust my approach. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's a very strong analogy. Yeah, I think you can go all the way with that one. Yeah, look, I definitely agree. I've definitely implemented that a lot, that specific conversation. And then also as well, you can even, if you say, you kind of sell it like, oh, if you want to go into the slow lane, no one wants to be seen in the slow lane. So you can even kind of influence people to because what do they really want? They really want to be treated like an adult. They really want to be treated like someone in the fast lane. So if you can sort of indirectly show them, look, you don't want to be doing this, taking the easy option, not getting pulled up on your mistakes, and truly they don't, and then they'll give you the permission to do it, and then you can follow it up.
That's right. But don't get upset if you see other people getting promoted before you, because initially you said that you wanted to go 140 kilometers an hour, and now you have decided to go 60. So when then you see other people, building teams, getting promoted, getting the awards, don't have resentment. Of course they're going to get there faster because the speed is double. Yeah. So it's just about being clear and having clear expectations, right? And when the expectations are clear, everything else is much easier.
I actually do have a question in relation to that.
Yeah.
If you had someone in your team say that is a real talent and you believe that they could go all the way, but they are one of these people that are happy coasting, when do you sort of interject, or do you try to influence them into wanting to go in the fast lane? Are there any tactics that you use to, motivate them? You obviously don't want to push someone, but then you don't want to not push someone that has potential.
Yeah, I think it's just you would pick out the talent sort of early on, and then maybe a couple of weeks in, or maybe a little bit more. So if they've done their sales agent promotion, there's already a built-in conversation at that stage where you're going to have a chat with them and say, okay, this is what the next step is. Is this what you want? And then go from there. That's what I usually do if someone is showing good signs.
For sure. If I can add, if I notice that I got a talent, but for some reason I can't break through, when you're like, this person is very capable, but for some reason I can't break through. That's why we have a big network, because what I ask myself next is this: well, is there anybody else that could break through? Sometimes people, they need to speak to somebody that they can relate to in order to achieve that breakthrough. And just because you are their coach doesn't necessarily mean that that person is always you, right? And I try to find somebody in our network that has a similar life, a similar situation, a similar personality, a similar background, that has done it. And I get that person to speak to this other person because they can relate and they have common ground. And sometimes that's the best way to break through, because they're like, oh, wow, I thought that to do it, I had to be like you, Patrick, but this person is completely different than you and they've done it anyway, therefore I can't do it. So being able to relate, it's massive.
I would say another thing for if you sort of suspect someone has a lot of talent, and you want to sort of bring them in with the people in the core room. I would just bring them. I would give them a taste of it. You've taught me to do this. If someone's showing very good signs, you bring them in the sort of more serious management meetings. They kind of get a taste of that, see what that's like, and then they're going to want more of it. And then you can say, okay, so if you want to be involved in this all the time, this is what we need from you. Is that what you want? Yes, it is, and then go from there.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome, love it. Let's keep going, man.
Nice, yeah. So next up, it's all sort of along the same lines. So another thing, so obviously, as I said before, so if we assume people don't take accountability, but if we also assume people when they come in, and that's what you said, you don't expect too much from people at the start because we're going to build them. If people have low standards in certain aspects of their life that they're unconscious of, how do you raise their unconscious standards without pointing out, an issue and potentially knocking their confidence?
Fast lane, mid lane, slow lane, same thing. Depending on what they want, I ask them to give me permission to be honest with them. And then if they want to go fast and I notice that there are certain areas in their life that need improvement, I tell them because they gave me permission to do so. So it's always according to that. Where do they want to be and what sort of actions are they showing? Okay. And if I see that there is something holding them back, then it's my role and it's my responsibility to tell them, because people never quit for the conversations that you had. People always quit for the conversations that you didn't have, right? Yeah. So the only way is to address it. And again, how can you address it? Well, first of all, you better make sure that you've been a good example yourself, like I said before. Yeah. You better make sure that you've set the pace yourself, and you better make sure that you build a good level of relationship with them. Because if there is no relationship and no trust, then if you try to pull them up on those things, they're going to be offended because they don't trust you. Yeah. Okay, remember, people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. So we always need to go back to that, right? But as long as I've set a good example and as long as I've gone above and beyond to create a good, genuine relationship with them, and I showed a lot of care, and I asked permission to give them honest feedback, well, at that stage, I just address it.
Gotcha. So to follow on from that, I would say, so we've mentioned the leading by example sort of aspect. So to build the best salespeople, and then really to build the best people who are going to train salespeople, the best leaders, what would you say are the things in which you need to lead the best example with?
Great question. I mean, first of all, we do sales, right? So for people to believe, they need to see sales. Okay, so the first thing is that. And again, you don't have to show them, you don't have to roll the country every single day, but you need to be consistently good. The main trait that you need to show them is consistency. Okay, you need to show them that you pull it off under any sort of condition, that you put it off when a day is going well, that you put it off when a day is going hard. They need to look at you and be like, wow, no matter what happens, you pull it off. Okay, so that consistency is the number one thing, because by showing them consistency, what you're doing automatically, you're already removing excuses. Because let's just say that we had a more difficult day today, right? I don't know, maybe, was a day where sales didn't come till 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And if I don't end that day still with a good result, what I've just done indirectly, I created an excuse, which is, hey, when the day doesn't start well, you don't necessarily finish it right. So the number one thing that I want to have is consistency. That's what I would say. The second, again, upholding the company values. Okay, we call it the We SMART: work ethic, student mentality, attitude, respect, and time management. You could do sales, but be the worst at the values. Maybe you're a very skilled salesperson, so you don't have to work that hard to do sales. And again, what's going to happen after, they're going to try to emulate your skills, but your work ethic was low. And since they don't have a lot of skills at the beginning, they're not going to get the result that they wanted. I want to be the best possible example in student mentality. I want to show them that no matter where I'm at, I'm always going to network. I'm always going to learn something. I'm always starting something new. So I don't give them the perception that there is an end point when it comes to student mentality. I want to have the best attitude. I want to be careful about what comes out of my mouth, because you can show sales and complain all the way through the day. Yeah. Right? So I want to show them that. I want to show them that I respect every person that I speak with. I never make any bad comment about customers ever. I'm super polished. And then I want to show them that I got good time management. I always have a plan and I come on time. These are the main areas, really. Like if you are consistent, and you give them an amazing display of the company values, that's what they're going to emulate. And I always say, people copy 80% of what you're doing right and 400% of what you're doing wrong. I want my wrong to pretty much be close to zero. So when they try to emulate the wrong, there is nothing to emulate. They can only emulate the right. So when you train, you better be on top of your game, because especially like the first week of training really has a strong correlation with somebody's future, and we see that all the times.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think one of the key things that we've implemented this year is the company values, the We SMART principle. That was something that you introduced like immediately when we started, and then we've tried our best to emulate that all through the almost 2 years now, or a year and a half now. I think it's to have the principles across the board, I think really helps you to integrate people into that system.
Of course. If you don't stand for something, you fall for everything, right? And so it's important that people stand for the values, otherwise they're going to fall for every excuse. But again, for you to pull them up on their lack of commitment to the company values, you need to have displayed the company values yourself, and you need to continuously display them. Again, leadership is a job where rent is due every single day, and the store is like, oh yeah, but 6 months ago when I trained you, I used to show you, but now I don't anymore. No, you always have to be the prime example, right? So that's it.
We'll go into the segment now.
Yeah, nice.
All right, so we're going to get it into a new segment, and this is rapid fire.
Let's go. Sitting up for this one.
Millie, do some sort of like cool edit. Thank you. So this is a series of questions that I'll be asking our guest Jude. These questions will range from agree-disagree questions to long-winded to multiple choice. If you could just try and give me your answer as quickly as possible, and we'll get started. Are you ready?
Sweet.
Okay. Most people quit too early. Agree or disagree?
I would say not on my team, But yeah, in general, yeah, agree.
Most reps don't actually work hard. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
What matters more early on, skill or attitude?
Definitely attitude.
Discipline or passion?
Discipline.
Most people overestimate how hard they work.
100% agree.
What's one of the biggest mistakes people make early on?
One of the biggest mistakes, I would say, is that people, if they do well early on, they will just start focusing on the sales aspect and stop learning. So they'll just try and just do as many, they'll be like, okay, I find this quite easy, so I'm just going to just do lots of sales, and they just focus on just doing sales, if that makes sense, and not learning more and more. And then usually you see a bit of a drop-off after not too long in that case. So I would say the biggest mistake is not learning the systems as best you can for as long as possible when you start.
What's more important for growth, being coachable or being confident?
Coachable.
Early success in sales can lead to overcomfortability. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, 100%.
What's a behavior that instantly tells you that someone's not serious?
A behavior that's poor time management and poor preparation.
Awesome. All right, cool.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'm never late. I'm obviously never late.
Emilia thought that being 4 minutes late is being on time.
Not late anymore, actually 10 minutes early.
Finally, only took 2 or 3 years.
My dad always said if you're 5 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late.
Oh.
But I don't really live by that.
I just add, there was a question that you said, what is one of the main things that people,
Early on?
yeah, biggest mistakes people make early on? Assuming that the first part of the progression structure is going to be a reflection of the second part. For me, that's the big one. Because again, the first part of the progression structure, the first 3 stages, which are entry-level sales agent, junior trainer, you get there by doing personal sales, right? And so you just rely on yourself. You don't have to rely on anyone else but you. Then the second part of the progression structure, which is team leader, executive manager, and partner and owner, now it's not just about you. It's about training other people to be as good as you are. And that's a completely different ballgame. And I think the mistake that people make, especially when they do the first part very fast, they're like, oh, well, since this was quick, the second is going to be the same. But they don't understand the second is a whole new adventure. Like, it's like being a football player and then becoming the coach of the football team. That doesn't necessarily translate. And we see it in sports all the time. Like, the best players are not necessarily the best coaches, right? Because it's a new job. And I think that that's the part that sometimes people don't understand. They put too much pressure on themselves. And then when they start the second phase of the progression structure and they encounter the first 2 or 3 obstacles, they start overthinking and questioning their abilities because they're like, oh, maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe something has changed. I used to be good and I'm not anymore. When in reality, it has nothing to do with that. You're still good. It's just that right now you've started a new journey. You need to learn how to tackle this new journey. And to tackle this new journey, you're going to fuck it up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to go through failures. You're going to experience way more obstacles, right? So it's just about the perception of the 2 phases of the progression structure being incorrect. I think, from my opinion, that's what a lot of people struggle with. When you're just selling on your own, you can sell without being great 100% of the times. Like, you can still make sales without your behavior being 100% of the time amazing. You can do wrong things, but nobody sees you doing wrong things and you still get the result. Whereas when you transition into a leadership role, it's like being in a reality show. Now you're being watched 24/7. Not literally, but like figuratively you are. Yeah. Because more often than not, now you're surrounding yourself with the trainees that you're leading. You're training people, you're coaching people. There is always somebody watching you. So you transition from kind of doing what you want because nobody sees you to, oh, wow, right now I'm on show 24/7 and I'm going to be the best version of myself. And that could be mentally demanding at the beginning, right? Now, if you train yourself to be the best version of yourself early on where you don't have people in your team, because the best time to learn how to be a great trainer is when you're training nobody, acting as if you're being watched already even though you aren't. If you act like that in the early stages, then it's going to be much easier. But if you don't, it's going to be much complicated. That's one. The second component, even if you do that, even if you are an amazing example, you need to accept the fact that leadership is something that is not the same as doing sales. And you got to learn it. right? You got to develop a certain level of empathy, social intelligence, and that's going to take some time. So again, don't be too hard on yourself and accept that you're going to make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, try to minimize the recovery time as much as possible, because people make a mistake and then they need to recover from the mistake for 4 weeks. Then they recover, they go again, they make another mistakes, and then recovery again. Fuck off the recovery time. It's all good. You know, there was somebody the other day that said, and it's funny, even when I do interviews nowadays, when I ask young people, hey, what do you think is the biggest area of improvement? I always ask this question in interviews, and I say, hey, if you have to lay out a weakness of yours or an area of improvement that we could potentially help you with if we start working together, what would it be? And a lot of people, they say, oh, I'm a perfectionist. And I'm like, well, stop being one, because being a perfectionist means I am delusional and I'm going to get hurt, because being a perfectionist is the killer of joy. Nothing is perfect. You're going to accept it. You're going to embrace the imperfection. Otherwise, you're going to encounter a lot of sadness.
Yeah, you're probably not a perfectionist either. I'd say most of the people who say that are definitely not perfectionists.
I'm not perfectionist at all.
No.
You can't get things done and be a perfectionist. Otherwise, you never start.
And you take it very hard if things aren't perfect.
That's right.
Which they
never
never
are.
So following on from that, actually, so if we're talking about that net, like when people make that jump from where they just have the responsibility to do their own sales, and then they have to then make a bit of a transition where they're responsible for other people's. So once you get people to take accountability for themselves, how do you then get people to take accountability for others' performance? Because I think you can get people to be like, yeah, this is on me. But as soon as someone else is involved, it's just, oh, they did this, or they're just like this, or that kind of thing.
Look, you educate, and some people will get it from the start just by educating them. Some people won't. And the best way for people to believe that it's always your fault is by giving them social proof. And what do I mean when I say that? Let's just say that somebody is managing a team and the team is not doing that well, but they're also not doing that well. The tendency when that happens, here's what happens. If a leader is managing 3 people, the 3 people are not doing well, but also the leader is not doing well, the immediate response of the leader is the following. I need to go and help all those 3 people at once to get them good. And when they do that, usually nothing happens. So then I reframe it and I say to the leader, can you do me a favor? Just be good yourself. You just start right now. Don't worry about the people. I look after them. You focus on you, and you're just good yourself. Set the pace again. Be the prime example, and then watch what happens. And usually what happens?
It all changes around.
You're good yourself, boom, everybody changes. And then I'm like, you see? Like, yeah. Then guess what happens? It's going to happen again and then again. Once they see it 3 times, that they're going to start believing that correlation, which is so true, right? As soon as you're good yourself, everything else is good. So that's how I do it, by letting people experience it and by giving them social proof and enabling them to learn their lessons. Because again, sometimes you see a leader that is not doing well, the team is not doing well, and we feel that we need to step in and fix it all for them. Yeah. But if you fix it all for them, they learn nothing, because from their perspective, there was never a problem in the first place because you fixed the problem. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to let it happen, right? You got to let it happen, but you got to pull back before the situation is unfixable, because people only learn these lessons once they experience a certain level of pain. Yeah. And if you never let them experience pain, they never learn. That's the abilities, the push and pull.
How do you know when someone's experienced enough pain? Like, you know, you're watching your kid fall over again and again and again. When is it that you get up and you help them? Like, is there a specific moment that you're waiting for? Do you wait for them to come to you? Like, how do you navigate that?
I'd say it's definitely a question for you. I'm not sure I've mastered.
But my mantra is pretty simple. The first time I do it for them, the first time I fix it, and then I explain what it is that I fixed. The second time we do it together, right? And I say, okay, does this situation remind you anything? And they're like, yeah. Have we been here before? Yeah, when? 3 months ago, there was something similar. Okay, do you remember what happened when we encountered that situation 3 months ago? Yeah, you did A, B, and C. Okay, so what do you think that we should be doing right now? We should be doing A, B, and C. Okay, so you do A and B, and I do C. We do it together right now, okay? Let's step in together. Let's address the situation. Well done. You came up with the plan. You remember it. Now we do it. But then once we encounter that problem again, and somebody comes to me, and they're like, hey, man, don't know what to do here. My answer is, what do you mean? Oh, I just don't know. And I say, okay, do you think that we faced this before? I don't know. Think about it. Like, have we faced this before? And then you get to the point where they say, yeah, I think we did. Do you remember what we did when we faced this before? Yes, I do. Okay, thank you very much. Let me know how you go. Otherwise they never learn, right? Then you gotta let them do it and be like, hey, go and do it. If you have questions for me along the way while you're doing it, call me, console me. We can role play. We can go through it. But now you're gonna be the man doing it, because if I keep stepping in myself, you're never gonna be the leader from their point of view. I'm always gonna be the one. You need to transition into those shoes at some point. So this is your time to do it. We can refresh the pointers together, but you do them this time.
Yeah, I should have known that, because that's in like the junior trainer manual, I believe. That exact example of how to work through a problem with a rep, so that they learn how to deal with their problems themselves.
That's right.
So yeah, it's very, very basic stuff, and the same thing applies from when you're training someone who's like just an entry level on the field, all the way up to you've done the same thing with me. So executive manager.
That's right. That's right.
Team leader.
That's right. But it needs to get to the point where you enable people to do. Otherwise, and I've done this in my past, you're going to create a team of babies. Mm-hmm. It's a very dangerous team, because when you have a team of babies, here's what happens. They think that they're good, but they aren't. But they think that they're good because they get results. But the only reason why they get results is because you always fix the problems. But when you fix the problems, you don't educate them on it. So all they see a problem vanishing, and they're like, fuck, I'm a magician. It just went away. And so from their perspective, they overestimate their abilities. In reality, they're not that good because they never learn. They never experience pain, so they never internalize the lessons. And if you continue to do that, as you put on size, you're going to reach a point where things break. Because as you get bigger and bigger, you can't be everywhere anymore. This works when you have 5 to 7 people. If you have 20, and you haven't really trained the leaders to be independent and fix their own problems, then you're going to crash down to 10. Why? Because you get burned out. Because you try to be everywhere at once, fix everything at once, but you can't anymore. And then you start being inefficient because you rush things, right? Oh, there is a fire here, and one there, and one there, and one there. And you jump between fires, and then the team crashes down, and these leaders, they don't know what to do with themselves because they never had the opportunity to fix problems by their own.
By themselves. Yeah. I've definitely witnessed similar, for sure, and I think it's definitely something I can get better with 100%.
Of course, we all can.
The next thing that I would say is on the flip side. So we've been speaking a lot about people not taking accountability. What about if people are trying to take too much accountability too early, and they are then resistant to you stepping in to help them?
Again, I go back to the fast, mid, and slow lane conversation, and I remind them, I appreciate you taking accountability, Jude. The reality is you started this job 3 weeks ago. So even though you're ambitious and determined and you really want to make it happen, you need to accept the fact that you're new to this and I'm not. So for you right now to go all guns blazing when you're doing things wrong and you don't have the answers, all you're doing, you're transitioning to the slow lane. So we have a couple of options here, man. Okay, if you want to do it that way, don't worry about the fast lane. Let's go in the slow lane because you want to do it on your own. You don't know what you're doing. You're new. Accept this. This is not me bringing you down. It's factual.
Yeah.
Okay? What was your previous job, Jude? What were you doing before?
Where I was working in a warehouse.
Okay, you bring me in a warehouse, I wouldn't know what the fuck to do with myself. And imagine me coming in and be like, I'm going to teach you how to run a warehouse. You'll be like, shut the fuck up. Like, you know, you don't even know, you don't know anything about this. Right now, you are that guy in sales. So I understand you want to take accountability, but there are a few more things that you got to learn. Okay, so don't be too hard on yourself. Let's take a step back. Allow me to teach you, allow me to educate you, and allow me to show you the right way. Otherwise, you're going to go on the slow lane. Do you want to go on the slow lane?
No.
Do you want to stay on the fast?
Yeah.
So do I have your permission to coach you?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
100%.
You promise?
Yes.
You're not going to be offended when I give you feedback?
Never would be.
You're never going to be stubborn, okay? Stop being so stubborn, brother, okay? Stop being so stubborn. Remember, it takes a village to raise a child. There is no such thing as self-made. Anybody that is self-made has been made by a group of people or a community or whatever. So accept that. Stop being a perfectionist.
Nice. Yeah, for sure. come back to the same analogy 3 times. I think it's definitely showing
the
importance of that conversation.
How
easy
right.
you can fix all these problems with just that one conversation. So the next question is just this. So obviously we've dealt with all those problems, the sort of 3 separate scenarios. With disc profiling, if you are dealing with different types of personalities, would you tailor the approach for different types, and how so?
Sure. Before I answer to this question, I just want to tell you, just to close off, you mentioned a very important point. We came back to the same analogy, like the fast lane or whatever conversation so many times. That's good, because you need repetition to really internalize a concept. People always expect that success comes down to do so many things. Now it's about doing a few things very well. Yeah. And you need to understand one of the main rules of human influence, which is the only way to get people to do what you want them to do is to align with your desire, with their interest. So the reason why that expectation conversation is so essential is because I keep on doing that. If I want you to do something, I keep aligning what I want you to do with what you wanted in the first place. Yeah. And only by doing that, we can get somewhere. So that's why, by the way, for those of you that want to know more about that, that's literally chapter 3 of How to Win Friends and Influence People that teaches this lesson right here.
It's also in 48 Laws of Power.
Amazing.
I believe it's 48 Laws of Power. You have to apply to people's self-interest to get them to do what you want them to do, essentially. When asking for, I can't remember what it is. When you're asking for a favor from someone, appeal to their self-interest.
Of course, it's the main law, right? Otherwise, you can't move. But to answer to your question, do I tailor my approach to different types of personalities? Yes, absolutely. Again, when it comes to that topic, are you going to be perfect from the start? Absolutely not, because the human tendency is to assume selfishly that everybody needs to be like yourself, and you're going to learn your lessons when it comes to that, and you're going to lose a few people because of that mentality. And then quickly you realize that not everybody needs to be like you in order to succeed, that you need to embrace different personality types. So I don't wanna go into that topic too much, otherwise it's gonna be too extensive.
Yeah.
But of course, if somebody is very competitive and dominant, I give them exactly what they want, which is competitions and bonuses, and that's how they're driven. If somebody is very reserved and analytical, I give them exactly what they want, which is we're gonna analyze everything. I'm gonna give them perfect systems. I'm gonna explain everything step by step. If somebody needs people's attention, I'm going to give them exactly what they want. A lot of recognition. I'm going to give them opportunity to do public speaking here and there. And if somebody is very reserved but cares about people's opinion that much, obviously what I just went through are D, I, C, and S type of personality. Somebody is an S type personality. Just got to be very careful with those, because those people are introverts that really care about people's opinions so much. And they're already their biggest self-critics. Like they criticize themselves all the time. They're always, I'm not good enough. I need to get better. So if you also criticize them, you're going to demolish them. So with these people, it's about nurturing them and giving them a lot of reassurance to get them around. If you manage to get them around and get them good, they're going to be loyal to you forever. Okay, so yes, to answer to your question, absolutely. If you are a new leader, again, I always say start from a very simple book, which is called Surrounded by Idiots. And it's going to give you an explanation of the 4 main personality types. So when you encounter a new team member, just simply ask yourself, what do I think this person is? And based on what you think, start tailoring an approach. Sometimes you might be wrong about your assumption. The best way to go about it, get them to do a personality test if you want, so you know exactly who you're dealing with.
Yeah, nice.
Awesome, and we're going to get into our final segment of the day. This is also a new segment on Ask the CEO. This will be a discussion between Jude and Patrick, and this is called What's the Call? And if you could do your best to answer what you would do in this scenario, what's the call? So, are we ready?
Yeah.
Someone feels like they are in the wrong team, and they've been in the company for quite a long time. They feel like their misplacement in this team and with this leader is the reason that they aren't hitting targets consistently and aren't progressing in the company. But you believe that they haven't taken initiative properly themselves. What's the call?
Yeah, I suppose it's a tough one, because you want to get them to take accountability, but then clearly at this point they've lost confidence in the leader that they have. So how are you then going to fix that relationship? So you might be able to fix the accountability, but are you going to keep them on the same team even still? I'm not sure. I've not done that personally.
Yeah, no, sure. Look, the first question that I ask is why? And they're like, oh, I think that my leader is not right for me. I dig deeper and I'm like, okay, why do you say that? Because this happened and that happened. And I'm like, what else? Because also this happened and that happened and what else? I get them to explain to me because sometimes there are genuine instances where the leader has not been right. And then they hold grudges over the leader for one thing that the leader might have done. So I get them to lay it out. And I say, look, Jude, like, to be honest with you, assuming that everything that you say is true, I don't agree with everything that you said, but there are two things that you mentioned there about the leader that if it actually happened, I can see why you feel the way that you feel. So let me ask you one question. I'm going to take your feedback on board, and I'm going to have a discussion with the leader, okay? If you want, we can even have it together. And I will make sure that moving forward, those two things that you have explained are not going to happen again. Because listen, Jude, it's fair to say, you know, as much as we don't expect people to be perfect, you can't have the same expectation either. Is that fair? Like, you can't expect your leader to be perfect in everything if you don't tell him or tell her that they've made mistakes. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So I will make sure that I'm going to have this conversation, and I will make sure that we rectify this, and I will make sure that moving forward it's not going to happen again. Let me ask you, assuming that I do that, and once that's done, what can you do better from your side as well to make sure that we pick up the pace? You know, I can do A, I can do B, and I can do C. All right, so do we agree that as long as I look after this, you promise me that you're going to do your part? Because the way I see it, Jude, it's always a 50-50 straight. And just because somebody has made a mistake, we shouldn't write the person off. In life, we need to give second chances, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we agree that you're going to do this moving forward, and I'm going to have the conversation with the leader. Is that everything? Like, as long as that happens, is that everything that you need to be the best version of yourself? Absolutely. All right, let's get it done. So I don't shut down. I'm not like, oh, the leader is wrong. No, listen,
No, he's
I'm
not.
right. I know he's right. Because if you shut people down, they don't listen.
Yeah,
so
they'll have resentment. So
yeah.
even if they just go along with it, but they're
Yeah.
probably going to internally think, yeah, I still disagree.
That's right. Like, the best thing that you can do when people say to you those sort of things is to shut up and listen and ask questions. You might learn something from it because sometimes they actually tell you some good stuff. And you may think, sometimes you have an impression about a leader, but you don't spend a lot of time with that person. You just see the surface level. And then they tell you, but this happened at lunch, and then he did this, and then she did that. And you're like, wow, that's good info. I didn't know that this was happening behind the scenes. So sometimes it's good learning from you as well. You don't want to diminish the value of the leader in front of the person. I always protect the leader, and I say, look, I'm sure that if that has happened, there was probably a reason. Maybe it just wasn't a good day for him or for her, I'm sure. But I'm going to address it, and I'm going to make sure that it's not going to happen again, because what you're saying is fair. I'm also going to have a conversation. I'm going to get a second opinion, but I will ensure it's not going to happen ever again.
Yeah.
But from your side, let me ask you right now, what could you have done better? Like, is there anything that you could have done better in this situation? Do you think that responding the way you had, which is, I'm just not going to pull my weight anymore, was a good response? Was that leadership behavior? Probably not. Okay, so what are you going to do? I'm going to do this. No problem. I'm going to look after that side. You promise your side, and let's keep on moving.
Yeah, I think that's definitely very, very valid to not just, so obviously you might have a certain assumption, but just to bring them in there and just talk at them instead of letting them speak and considering that potentially my perception of what's going on is not 100% accurate.
That's right. Because remember, to really know what's going on, once you get to a point where your office is big and you have 25, 30 people, you can't be everywhere at once anymore. And the leaders, the people that you trust the most, they're not going to tell you what they're doing wrong. So you need to rely on other people telling you what's going on for you to be able to address problems.
Yeah.
And sometimes people tell me, you know, that has happened. Maybe I don't have a one-on-one conversation with the leader specifically, but maybe tomorrow morning I run a meeting about why doing X is very wrong if you want to be a leader.
Yeah.
And I run that, and I know that the person is in the room, and as I'm speaking, every now and then I make eye contact. They know that I'm looking at them, but they don't fully know. They're like, oh, fuck, I feel he's talking at me. And when they ask, it's like, was that for me? I'm like, no, it's just like common sense, yeah? Yes, yes, it is. And they never do it ever again. Because now I taught that topic in front of everybody. So if they repeat that behavior, everybody now can go, hey, like, Patrick said that this is wrong. Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
So you kind of corner them, and they're like, fuck, I can't do this anymore, because now everybody knows.
Yeah.
So that's another way to address certain problems in a very smart way.
Yeah. Nice.
That's so cool.
I think that might even be better than addressing it directly, because then you've got the sort of fear in their own, I don't want him to think that I'm doing that. And that
That's
might
right.
even be more, once you address it directly, they're going to think in their head, well, his perspective of me is like kind of diminished,
Yeah.
and then they might stop trying to behave like this idealized
Yeah.
version that they believe you have of them.
You're right. First, you should do the second thing that I said. And if the behavior doesn't stop, then you should address it
directly.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. All right, Jude, I think that the conversation today was very productive. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
I agree. I think it's going to be very good, especially for the leaders at Community Collective to watch this, because ultimately we've been talking about one thing, which is the expectation conversation. Really, a lot has gone back to that one. But no, I loved the conversation today. And was there a main takeaway that you had, or the main takeaway was the expectation conversation?
The main takeaway is the conversation for sure. I think something that people maybe struggle with is just being able to get the most out of people.
Mm-hmm.
And that conversation is a way to get the most out, like inspire people to do the most for you.
Yeah.
You might be able to teach all the systems.
For them.
Well, yeah, for both
Yeah.
parties. So I think, someone can be very good at teaching the systems. Someone can be very good at showing a lot of sales and leading by example. But if you can't inspire people to put the amount of effort in that you're putting in, it doesn't matter. So
That's right.
you need to be
That's
able to
right.
pull that out of them.
That's right. Instead of getting frustrated, get better, become a better leader.
I think that comes from that conversation is a very good tool for doing that. Leading by example is obviously a good tool for doing that. And then just caring about people and showing a genuine interest in them as well.
Absolutely.
I think that's another one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from yourself.
Absolutely, man. So closing this off, all right? When we talk about accountability, you're now on camera. Say hello. I'm sure you were already aware that you were on camera.
It's all good.
So what's next for Jude Wright? What are you going to accomplish this year? What's the commitment that you make to Community Collective, the commitment that you make to your office, your team, more importantly, the commitment that you make to yourself?
Yeah, so I suppose I could address this
Go for it.
to camera, but the commitment that I make this year, I'm going to promote at least 2 executive managers and 3 team leader promotions, like that one. 2 executive managers.
Yeah, damn.
I think we can definitely do that, and I'm going to reach a partnership level for myself personally.
Amazing.
This year.
Amazing. I'm very excited to see that. Thank you again for being on the podcast. Thank you, Emilia, for those additional questions and recording the podcast as per usual. I hope that all of you have enjoyed this podcast. I surely did. And remember, we're going to have new episodes coming out every single month. And with that being said, let's go. Let's continue to grow. And I'll see you on the next episode. Let's go.